The room went completely silent when the CEO looked at the single father standing at the end of the conference table and laughed. His shoes were worn, his white shirt had been washed so many times that the collar had begun to fade, and beside him sat a simple black folder containing the only thing he had left after years of struggling to raise his little daughter alone. The CEO glanced at him, then at the luxury watches and tailored suits surrounding the table, and said with a cruel smile, "People like you should be grateful just to be in a room like this." She had no idea that the man she had just called poor was the one person capable of deciding whether her company would receive a $200 million contract. Daniel Carter had learned long ago that being poor did not mean being weak. At 38, he was a single father raising his 8-year-old daughter, Lily, after losing his wife to an illness several years earlier. He had once worked as a brilliant software engineer, but after Lily was born, life became a constant battle between paying bills and being there for his child. When his wife died, Daniel turned down a prestigious position that required constant travel because Lily had nobody else. Instead, he took smaller consulting jobs from home, repaired old computers, and spent his evenings helping his daughter with homework at the kitchen table. Their apartment was tiny, their furniture was old, and sometimes Daniel quietly skipped dinner so Lily could have enough to eat. But every night, before Lily fell asleep, he told her the same thing: never measure a person by what they own. Measure them by what they are willing to give. If you believe kindness, second chances, and a parent's sacrifice still matter, take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs hope, and subscribe to the channel for more emotional stories like this one. Daniel's life changed unexpectedly when a technology company discovered one of his software systems. It was an inexpensive but revolutionary security program he had designed in his spare time. The program could detect weaknesses in financial networks faster than most expensive systems used by major corporations. A private investment group invited Daniel to present it to several executives, including Victoria Sterling, the powerful CEO of Sterling Dynamics. Her company was preparing to sign a $200 million technology partnership, and Daniel's system was supposed to be the final piece of the deal. Daniel arrived at the glass-walled corporate headquarters carrying an old laptop and a folder covered with small scratches. He had spent the previous night preparing his presentation while Lily slept beside him on the couch because she had been frightened by a thunderstorm. Daniel barely slept, but he still showed up early. He believed the meeting could change his daughter's future. Maybe, finally, he could afford a safer apartment. Maybe he could put money aside for Lily's education. Maybe he could stop worrying every time the electricity bill arrived. But the moment Victoria saw him, her expression changed. She looked at his inexpensive clothes, then at the other executives dressed in designer suits. A few people exchanged uncomfortable glances. Daniel calmly introduced himself and explained that he had developed the security architecture being considered for the company's massive contract. Victoria leaned back in her chair and laughed softly. She asked whether he was really the engineer responsible for the system or merely someone sent to deliver the paperwork. When Daniel explained that he had personally written most of the original code, she looked at his worn shoes and said, "You should understand something. We don't negotiate with poor men." The words struck Daniel harder than she realized. For a moment, he saw Lily sitting at their kitchen table, carefully coloring a picture with broken crayons because they could not afford a new box. He remembered the nights he had told her that their circumstances did not define them. He could have walked out. Instead, he quietly opened his laptop and said he would let the technology speak for itself. Victoria smiled confidently. She believed the meeting was already under her control. The investors had come expecting a final demonstration, and the $200 million agreement was scheduled to be signed within the hour. She even told her assistants to prepare the documents because she wanted the meeting finished quickly. Then Daniel began the demonstration. Within minutes, the room changed. His software scanned Sterling Dynamics' supposedly secure network and identified a hidden vulnerability that the company's expensive security team had completely missed. Daniel explained that the weakness could potentially expose confidential financial information and allow an outside attacker to manipulate critical transactions. The executives stared at their screens in disbelief. Victoria demanded that he prove it. Daniel did. The system traced a simulated attack through the exact pathway an attacker could use. Then another warning appeared. The vulnerability wasn't limited to Sterling Dynamics. The same flaw existed in the technology platform belonging to the company they were about to sign the $200 million deal with. The room erupted into panic. The investors immediately demanded that the contract be suspended. Lawyers began reviewing the agreement. Security officers rushed to contact their technical teams. Victoria's confidence disappeared as quickly as it had appeared. She realized the deal she had been preparing to celebrate could have exposed her company to catastrophic losses. Then Daniel opened his old folder. Inside were documents showing that he had discovered the vulnerability weeks earlier. He had repeatedly attempted to alert Sterling Dynamics through official channels, but his warnings had been ignored because nobody considered an independent consultant worth listening to. He had preserved every email, every security report, and every timestamp. Daniel had not destroyed the deal because he wanted revenge. He destroyed it because signing the contract without fixing the vulnerability could have harmed thousands of innocent customers. The room became silent again. One investor slowly stood and asked Daniel why he had not simply kept quiet and allowed the contract to go through. Daniel looked toward the window, thinking about Lily. He explained that money could replace a broken computer, a damaged car, or even a lost business opportunity, but it could never replace a person's trust once it was destroyed. He had struggled financially for years, but he refused to become the kind of person who would sacrifice others just to escape poverty. Victoria sat motionless. For the first time, she understood the difference between being rich and being valuable. The $200 million deal was officially suspended that afternoon. But something unexpected happened afterward. Instead of being blacklisted, Daniel was offered the opportunity to lead an independent security team responsible for rebuilding the entire project. The investors wanted someone they could trust, and Daniel's honesty had impressed them more than his clothes ever could. Months later, Daniel and Lily moved into a comfortable home. Daniel still drove the same old car, still wore simple shirts, and still refused to waste money trying to impress people. But he no longer worried about whether Lily would have enough food or whether the electricity would be cut off. He created a scholarship fund for children of single parents and quietly donated a portion of his earnings every year. Victoria eventually apologized to him privately. She admitted that she had mistaken expensive clothing for success and poverty for failure. Daniel accepted her apology, but he never forgot the lesson. One evening, Lily asked her father why he had never become arrogant after becoming successful. Daniel smiled and told her that he remembered exactly what it felt like to be judged before anyone knew his story. Then he added that the richest person in any room was not necessarily the person with the most money. Sometimes, it was simply the person who still had enough heart to do the right thing when nobody was watching. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, share it with someone who believes that kindness matters, and subscribe so more stories like this can reach people who need them. And before you leave, comment, "Kindness is true wealth," if you believe a person's worth should never be measured by their clothes, bank account, or social status. Because Daniel walked into that room looking poor to everyone who judged him. But when the moment came to choose between $200 million and doing what was right, he proved that he was richer than everyone sitting at the table.